Hello, how are you?
Oh, doing quite well.
All right, I'm gonna ask you a few questions just to get to know what you would do in situations. So, first question, can you describe a time when you oversaw a project that did not go well and how did you handle it?
I actually just recently had a project not go well. I had a contractor not look at my drawings and poured the concrete completely how he wanted to, and it was a catastrophe because it just ruined the whole project. So in that situation, I chose not to panic. I had to take thorough notes, and I had to sit down and analyze what went wrong, how we can fix it, and how we can get this back on track. Because the high school had a homecoming football game literally in 2 weeks, and so we were really scrambling to make this work. But because we were organized and was able to adapt to it, it was a good way to get things back on track, doing what we did.
All right. Can you tell me a time when you were behind on a project that was due rather quickly? What did you do?
On a recent project, I actually did get behind on one, and I kind of panicked a little bit, but I slowed down and went around the office and asked if anyone was available to assist me. And I found two people that basically had nothing to do, and so I was able to delegate certain items to them. I took the big ticket items and I gave them all the small accessories and stuff to get listed and fabricated, and it really helped push the project back on track by getting a team involved.
All right. How did you handle finding mistakes from one of your coworkers?
Mistakes happen quite often, and I've kind of learned that the best way to handle them is to never really approach anyone and say, "Hey, why did you do this?" I really try to focus on not questioning people. So I rather come to someone and say, "How did you come to this kind of conclusion?" That way I can kind of hear what they have to say, and then make sure I have the proper documentation to show them, well, this is really how we should do things, and this is what we've been signed off to do. And so that's kind of an approach I like to go at, because no one likes to be cut down or criticized on how they did something, because they may think that's the right way.
Okay. All right. So, describe a time you made an error on a project. How did you resolve the error and what did you learn from this?
I made a massive one a year ago. I did not check elevations on a project, and I assumed that what the architect gave me was correct, and which was a horrible mistake. My first learning takeaway from that is always back check yourself. Always make sure you have the proper information and up to date information. That catastrophe was bad, but we were able to resolve it by simply having our crews go back out, make adjustments. Our shop had to fabricate new parts, and we shipped them overnight and was able to get things back going. But a major takeaway was always back check your information. Make sure you've got plans that are the most recent and not last year's.
What is the most difficult part of being a leader for you, and what did you do about that difficulty?
One of the hardest things about being a leader is when things go wrong. I had a very hard time whenever I would lead projects because a lot of my coworkers are my friends. And sometimes, you have to be stern and tell them, hey, that's not how we're doing this. It's got to be done this way because it was approved and the customer bought it this way. And you hate to be the bad guy. But I've also learned that in the workplace, you have to be assertive and you have to be the leader and take lead and, tell people in a nice way and try to motivate them. Hey, no, we need to stick with the plan, do it this way, and not get off track.
All right, good answer. How do you get your team motivated to do a project that they are not excited about?
This is a really good question. I actually had a situation where I had a job in California, which is sadly under fire right now, but that project was horrible and I had to drag in two coworkers. So I came in that morning with donuts, coffee, and told them, hey, I will treat you guys to lunch today, pizza on me. And then I gave them the bad news, I need your help on a project. But, they laughed about it and it was like, I'm cool with it, because I came in with a good attitude and I showed some gratefulness that they'd be coming to help me. So I've found to motivate people you really have to make them feel comfortable and feel good about the task you're about to give them. And if it means, treating them to something, like donuts, I think that's a great way to go about it.
Can you tell me about a time you made a bold decision at work that was out of the ordinary to keep a project on track for completion? Were you successful?
Yes, I actually had a project at Baylor where we were doing the new McLean Stadium, and they had several issues on the anchors that were used there because they just didn't hold up to the concrete that was poured. And so my engineer of record was on vacation in the Alps. My boss, the in-house engineer, had neck surgery and was out, and so I was the only one there to make a call on it. And so I called our Hilti rep and asked them, to help me with calculations, and I sent a totally different type of hardware for the project. It was bold. We don't normally use that type of anchor, but in the crunch we had, I knew the numbers worked, and I knew that this product would be successful. And so I just kind of had to gamble and do it, and had our purchasing order go through of over 5,000 anchors. It was nerve wracking, but it was a good decision, and I was glad that with my training I had, I was able to make that decision well.
Can you talk can you talk a time where you encountered a problem at work and had no one to help you find a solution? What did you do?
Once we had an issue with our time clock at work, a lot of people stopped using it, and a lot of people, frankly, just didn't care about it. And it actually ended up being a big problem with our department. And so when everyone was out on vacation, I came up with a little way to take an Excel spreadsheet and make a timesheet that our accounting ladies could still use. And it made things a little bit easier because it calculated the math out in your hours. And when my boss came back from vacation, I just showed her what we had done, and she was actually quite proud and said, "Wow, that's awesome." And it allowed us to get rid of our manual punch clock we had on the wall and still keep the honor system, but still be accurate with it at the same time.
How do you promote positive teamwork and efficiency in your department?
Positive teamwork and efficiency. One of the things I've done before is, like I said, I try to boost morale, have a good attitude. When I come in, anytime there's a meeting, I always come in with a smile and it's like, "How are you guys today?" And to motivate them in certain ways is to know what projects they're good with. Certain people are great at project B, some are good at project C, you name it. And so keeping them on what they're good at is a good thing to stick with, but also changing it up from time to time. That way they don't get stuck doing the same thing every day. And I think that kind of helps boost morale quite a bit.
All right. Do you have any questions for me?
I do. I would like to ask one question. Is there any on the clock travel time that would be necessary for this position, such as training or meetings?
There might be an occasional traveling for trainings and meetings of sorts.
Oh, okay.
Anything else? Any other questions?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, it was nice to meet you and good talking to you.